Hi everyone, welcome to the InstructLab Core meeting for January 23rd, 2025. Before we get started on some cool announcements, I believe, let's just go over the usual items to remember for the meeting. Our meetings are governed by the InstructLab Community Code of Conduct. So be nice to each other, respectful. All our meetings are recorded and will be posted in the InstructLab YouTube channel. If you prefer not to be on camera, you can join with the cameras off, or you can also dial in via phone. There's different options. Please raise your hand if you're in Google Meet to use the raise hand functions to ask questions. You can also use the chat function to comment and ask questions, and we'll address them as needed. All right, I think that's pretty clear for most people who have joined this meeting regularly. So let's get started on some release announcements, I guess, or pre-release information. Nathan or Charlie?
Yeah. So, Nathan, do you want to do it or?
You go ahead.
Yeah. So we are going to be cutting 0.23 tomorrow. We were going to be doing a beta potentially today, depending on some timing. We might just jump right from the alpha to 0.23, but the change log is right there. And yeah, it has as we said in the last meeting, it has a lot of new features. There's RAG, which is going to be talked about right after this. There's detachable SDG. There's process management, a bunch of quality of life improvements, stuff like that. So yeah, overall, it should be a generally pretty exciting release with some new commands. So look out for that at some point during the day tomorrow.
Cool. All right. Would you like to elaborate on the RAG in the new release?
Sure, I can talk about that.
Okay.
So I'm one of the architects, along with Anastas, who's also on the call, of the new RAG functionality in InstructLab. The basic concept is this: if you have some content, we have commands to convert that content into a JSON format, ingest that content from the JSON format into a vector database, and then in the iLab chat, there's a RAG configuration option that's going to let you then get answers from the content using the vector database. What does that mean? That means it will, when you type in a question in the chat, instead of just sending that question straight to the model, it's going to first send the question off to the vector database, get some search results, put those search results into the context that it then sends to the model along with your question, so that the model knows about content from the search results when answering your question. So does that make sense at a high level? Does anyone have any questions at that level?
That makes sense to me. Pretty cool.
Sounds good, thanks. So there's really two basic ways to get your content in. One is if you have a taxonomy, it will automatically pull the same documents from the taxonomy that, say, SDG would pull if you pointed it at the same taxonomy, which is, if I remember correctly, the all the documents that are pointed to in knowledge Q&A YAMLs that are unstaged, meaning that are different from what is in the GitHub repo. So that's one way. Another way is you can also just point to an input directory and say, here, all my content is in this input directory. So if you have like a directory with 7 PDF files, you can just say, here's the directory with 7 PDF files, and then it will just iterate through that directory and pull them all there. So you don't necessarily need Q&A YAMLs or taxonomy if you just want to do the RAG, and you're not trying to also do SDG. Anastas.
Yes, so I'd like to add some details and caveats to that.
Great, sounds good.
So first of all, with the addition of the retrieval augmented functionality, we've also put it behind a feature gate. So as far as I understand, this is The first really systematized feature gating, also known as feature flagging. In particular, this means that this functionality, because it is in development preview, which means it is not hardened, it is not tuned, its interaction with other components has not been debugged, polished, etc. So you have to enable it using environment variable, and all of this will be documented, of course. But the general idea is you do have to explicitly opt in. When that happens, when you opt into it, that means that you might reach an application state that is not upgradable to the next version, and simply disabling it might leave you in an application state that is like not a known good working configuration. So that's why it's opt in. In particular, this being development preview, it's not tuned. So one example might be, it's possible that a retrieved document portion might be too long for a context window, theoretically. Or you can set parameters where it retrieves so much data that it doesn't fit in the context window and it gets dropped because it's too long. So that, in a sense, there's many interactions with other things. There are the way that it interplays. For example, the way that it chunks documents is different from the way the documents are chunked for SDG. So if you have been doing SDG and you turn this on and you do both and you're using the same directory, the interaction of those features, there's no design intention behind that. That's not designed yet. So this is very much a developer preview functionality. It does work. If we do have manual verification, we do have end-to-end testing that's coming up, hopefully emerging today. But like I said, very raw, and the intention is going forward to tune that, find any bugs, figure out interactions with other features and those sorts of things. So those are the finer points I wanted to put on it. And once again, all of this should be discussed in documentation, which hopefully will be coming soon.
Yeah, those are all great points. Thank you. Carol.
Yeah. What are the accepted input sources? I mean, like formats, PDFs and taxonomy YAMLs, or
Yeah, PDFs, taxonomy YAMLs, but only like knowledge ones, and then we're going to ignore the YAML and just go straight to the document that it points to, which could be PDF or Markdown. It does also work with plain old Markdown, and so if you have Markdown, I believe it works with a lot of other formats, but the only ones that I've tested it on are PDF and Markdown. But we're just pointing docling at the directory, and docling supports a wide variety of formats, including docx, like Word documents, things like that. So my guess is if you pointed in a directory full of Word documents, it would just run. We should check that out sometime and see.
okay.
The only thing that we have been testing against is specifically taxonomy, PDF, and Markdown. Some other things
Great.
might work. We don't know.
Exactly.
Well, we're not committing to that being an expectation right now.
That too. Yes.
Got it. Thanks. Any other questions for Bill or Anastas? All right. Look forward to trying that out. Next on the agenda, updates to contributing.md.
So this was actually something I'm planning to do, but I'm happy to get other input too. But I really would like to see it consolidated into a single root level document. And in the course of working on the RAG project, I've built a list of notes of things that think people should know if they're wanting to like run the unit tests, for example, or the functional tests. So that's my plan, is to overhaul that and add a lot of stuff. I would definitely welcome input from the community either beforehand or like once I have a pull request up there. People are encouraged to take a look at the pull request and add or correct or things like that. A lot of this stuff is stuff I've sort of discovered, and so it may be sort of half informed.
Cool, thanks. Once you have a pull request or issue opened, you can drop a link to here so we can.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll put it
Yeah.
in the Discord in the core channel. I think that's the best place for it.
That's
Thanks.
best. Yep, thank you. Okay, any comments on that before we move on? Okay, any other topics for open discussion? So I was just looking at last week's meeting, which I missed, which had mentioned the detachable the process format. So that's coming in this release, right? 0.23.
Yep.
Okay. Just I think that'll be quite useful in
Yeah.
many cases.
It's only going to be for iLab data generate at first. We kind
Okay.
of use that as like to
Mhm.
figure out how to run it. But we're going to be adding it for training, eval, even things like download, just so you don't have to have your terminal occupied
Right.
all the time. Yeah.
Cool. Good to know. All right. Any other topics or questions? If not, thanks everyone. Look forward to the release coming out soon, and we will chat again next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bill.
Thanks, everyone.
Ellie,
everybody.
everyone. Bye.